Sophia, and this is my husband Jordan, and this is our growing experiment. So about 6 months ago, we decided we wanted to become more self-reliant. So at that point, we purchased a geodesic growing dome. So since then, we've built one, and now we're standing in it, and we're growing some vegetables throughout the winter.
As we started to learn more about becoming self-reliant, we found out we had lots to learn, and in the spirit of that, we decided it would be a good idea to talk to people who knew a lot more about the stuff that we were trying to do or trying to learn ourselves. And so we thought it'd be a good idea to start a podcast where we could interview people who are doing basically what we'd like to be doing, and around the ideas of, like, say, small businesses, small agriculture, stuff like that. And so we figured that when we learn this stuff from people who are applying these skills practically, it would make sense to record them so that if anyone wanted to learn the same stuff that we wanted to learn, they could get that from listening to the podcast.
All right, so in this first episode, we're interviewing Josh and Holly from Hopa, Flocka, Farmstead out in Noelville, and that interview starts now. All right, so we've got Hopa, Flocka, Farmstead with us. Do you guys want to tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Sure. So my name's Josh. This is my wife, Holly. So we run a small farm in Noelville, Ontario. We started up really officially just this year. Our main focus is livestock. We are licensed chicken farmers of Ontario for the artisanal program. So we raised about 1,700 chickens this year, which was quite a feat. It was something very new to us. I come from a professional chef's background. I've been a chef for 20 years, and mostly down in Toronto and down in the US. And then a few years ago, we decided that we wanted to change a pace, and we wanted to slow things down. We still wanted to be food focused. That was important for us. So we came up here with the idea of being self-sufficient. So we started a very small flock. The first year we did 40 chickens?
Yeah, about that.
And we hunted and foraged for a lot of stuff and took our time to get to know our land really well. And then last year we got into ducks and rabbits. Oh, I guess we did rabbits the first year, didn't we?
Yeah, we started with rabbits, just 4, and kind of bred them out from there, and have been adding to the rabbitry, I guess, over the years. And now we have, I think, 12 breeders, and we do batches. This is our first year actually doing it through the winter. We usually would just do spring and fall breedings, but so the rabbits have grown, and then we did chickens in the same year, and then this year was ducks and turkeys that we added.
Yeah. And then we don't just chicken farm. Our side hustle, I guess you could call it, that seems to be the term everyone's using these days, is the side. We run a prepared foods business, so they're frozen, ready-to-eat meals. So as much as we can, we grow, everything's made with chicken, and we grow all of the produce that we use as much as possible. This year we struggled a little bit getting into the larger volume of chicken. Our garden looked like the Garden of Eden, and got a little overrun, but the things that worked out have worked out well. So we try to wrap those products in to make our meals so that we can offer a high quality, cost effective, quick prepared meal for people. That, it's made wholesomely with all natural ingredients, no preservatives. When you read the ingredients on the label, you can pronounce everything, and you 99% of the time will recognize what everything is. So we take a lot of pride in that.
And it shows people what you can do with your own chickens and gardens, and you can kind of meal plan when you're planting and when you're picking animals, and that kind of stuff, like do it more suited to you and your tastes. And
Mhm.
we're lucky that Josh is very creative and he's a very good chef and keeps us very well fed. So
I just apply heat to food at the end of the day. That's it. It's all about the quality product.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really interesting. I didn't know you guys were also doing that on the side. I mean, I guess I'd seen some of your products at the farmers market there. We had the macaroni, I believe. Yeah, and it was pretty good.
yeah,
So that's really cool. Like I really like yeah, I really like what you guys are doing with that. Like I really like the reason you're doing it too, providing like really good food for people, and you can, like you said, you can pronounce the ingredients and you know what you're getting. So, I mean, it sounds like you guys are making a lot of food. So, I mean, this year you guys fed yourselves and probably a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we probably have enough chicken to last until
March. We're hoping.
The beginning of March, kind of. We have a waiting list on rabbits right now, but we've really worked hard to be inclusive with the local community and to offer a product that wasn't previously available here, at market. People can always sell from farm gate, but then that,
it
first
limits you a bit.
It limits when new people come to the community, especially, over the last 2 years, we've seen such a push of people buying up properties and moving out of the city and wanting to get into a more rural, slower paced life. It's a good opportunity to introduce them to these kinds of foods that are out there, and the slow growth, the regenerative farming practices. It's a good introduction for them, and it's approachable, because if you don't know what free range pasture raised chicken tastes like, and you're not sure that, by the description of it, maybe it's a little bit meatier, it's got a bit more texture to it, that can be intimidating for people, and buying whole chickens can be intimidating for people. So we try to offer a variety of cuts and be able to introduce people into saying, this isn't that hard. And we, in the spring, we sell chicks, and we've sold rabbits previously to people that wanted to get into doing them for themselves, for their family, and to kind of the homesteading community. Mm-hmm. And so, we always tell everyone our phone's always on. Anytime you have a question or if there's an issue with anything you've gotten from us, reach out. We're happy to share our knowledge. I mean, we're not experts by any means. We know what we've gone through and what we've experienced, and we're happy to impart that knowledge onto others. As kind of, there's a few families in our community that their families have been farming here for years and years, and they've accepted us, and they've offered a helping hand and their knowledge that they can impart if we need it. So, we want to keep those kinds of traditions going, and try to let people know that there's more to life, to food in life, than just going to the grocery store and picking something up on a styrofoam tray, because you don't know where it came from, you don't know what kind of life it lived. And we invite people to come do farm tours all the time, and we want to see how we raise our animals, come check it out. And
a lot of people do really care about where their food comes from, especially nowadays. It's a growing thing, and we're interested in doing it for ourselves, and a lot of people maybe don't have the means to do it themselves, so it gives them the opportunity to come and see and have a piece of it and still know where your food's coming from without having to do the whole setup and everything. So that's important to us, and just kind of sharing knowledge and information. And we've learned a lot from people, and it allowed us to just try stuff and kind of be creative, and not, read a book and say, this is how it has to happen because these are the steps that I read. More just, this is the end result you want, so how do you get there and what works for you? We started out with nothing in terms of equipment or any kind of tools and machinery and that, and like we had to build all the coops from scratch and work a property and kind of figure out. We're learning a lot about hay, because we have a hay field that's just been maintained by neighbors and previous owners, and we want to have a bigger piece of that. But again, it takes time to get there, so that just sharing of knowledge and kind of figuring out what can you do in the meantime to still practice things and learn as you go.
Yeah, I mean, our first year, I remember it being 35 degrees out, and we're out in the field with a machete cutting fresh hay for the rabbits.
Yeah.
Because I'm putting it in a cardboard box and on a little wagon that we had, pulling it back out of the field, because that was all the equipment we had when we started.
Yeah.
And over time, you know, it's getting into farming is such a large investment. To get into the machinery side of it, you know, to do sustainable, you know, outdoor farming, which is, you know, kind of what we believe in, you know, and we believe animals belong outside. You know, their feet should be on grass, and in the winter on snow, and they should be able to jump in a pool of water if they want. And we try to keep it to what we think is the most natural state. And you know, people always come and ask, and they say, well, why don't they just leave? What stops the ducks from flying away?
Mm-hmm.
What stops the chickens from wandering off into the woods? We've built an ecosystem that gives them everything they need. And we've done it really cheaply. I mean, a couple $15 kiddie pools, and you put them out, and you look out the window, and there's 25 ducks swimming around, splashing around, having a heyday in a pool. I mean, they couldn't be any happier. So they don't need to wander a kilometer away down to the river to go find water. If you give them what they need, you don't have to. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get into it. It's a commitment. It's a time commitment. It's a lifestyle.
Right.
It's 7 days a week. I mean, we're sitting here in our toques because we just came back in from outside from buttoning everyone up. And you know, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it, and it's not for everyone. But it's nice to be able to share it with people, even if it's not a lifestyle they want to live. It seems like the majority of people are interested in learning about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you guys are doing this like full time right now, or do you guys also have like a full-time job on top of this?
I have a part-time job for the winter that I just started, and before Josh has had either full-time or part-time jobs periodically.
Yeah.
This year we dedicated our focus to the business and being able to provide this product to the community, and that took more than most of our time, and then everything else in between, and yeah, so we've both worked on and off while doing this as well. I think a lot of people do, and if you can do it full time and maintain yourself, that's obviously the dream and what everyone wants. And but yeah, it just depends on the situation. So we've been really lucky to be able to do it pretty much full time this year.
That's when you how many hours do you think you're putting in just around the farm? So like maybe there'd be kind of a picture if you were working full time, how much you're going to do on top. Say when you're starting out your first kind of endeavor there.
You have a good grasp on that because you did it
at the beginning. So when we first started, we were doing small scale just for us. You know, we were probably 40 hours a week on farm, plus 40 hours a week full-time work.
Okay.
And then, you know, this summer getting into the larger scale. And because we're licensed, so we have inspections and audits from government officials to ensure
paperwork.
And lots of paperwork. But just to ensure, you know, animal safety and on-farm food consciousness and making sure that things are being done properly and stored properly. I'd say this summer we were doing 70 to 80 hours.
At least. We were a little delirious for a little bit. There were days we don't remember and that we just kind of laughed through because you're that tired, but it was really rewarding and that's what kept us going. But the time commitment is huge. When you were working full time, you'd still come home and you've got a few hours worth of work to do. And when it's winter months and you don't have the same kind of daylight, it's a little more pressure. And it's a lot of hours.
Yeah, and I mean, it all depends on what kind of, even if it's a small scale farm, what kind of life you're leading. I mean, we heat predominantly with wood. You know, we have backup oil to heat the house if we need it. You know, but we kind of set a budget to ourselves that we will have one tank for a year. So, you know, we cut, you know, 20 cords of wood every year. So, you know, when you fall into your winter months, then you're moving snow all the time. It takes twice as long to do your chores. You're busy splitting wood and stacking and starting to cut for next year and
changing waters like 4 times a day.
Yeah, when it's even this week when it's minus 15 out, you know, you're changing duck pools 3 times a day because it's a larger body of water. But I mean, the small waters that are in each run, because the animals don't tend to move as far out in the free range when it's that cold. You know, you're changing 4 or 5 times a day just to ensure they always have fresh, clean water. So it's just a lot of double checking and checking up on them. And then that's not including, you know, going to the market or getting the food prepped for the market, stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say now we're probably just animal chores 5-6 hours a day.
Yeah, probably 5-ish.
Yeah, nothing too crazy.
Right.
You know, luckily for us, we don't, or not, I guess that's not the right way to say it. We don't have children.
Right.
So we have
a little more
free time, a little more flexibility.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if I want to go run the chainsaw at midnight because I want to cut wood for tomorrow, I can do that. And I don't have to worry about waking a baby up.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't have to spend time with that. I have people that do it with children.
That's a whole other
trying to get into it. Yeah, I don't know. I have these
all the
families
to them.
these families that have farms. They've figured out a secret that I don't know the answer to.
Well, it's like you mentioned.
Because I don't
time commitment.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's not just the time commitment. It's the want to be there with your family, right? And the want to spend that time with them. And you know, I guess once they get to a certain age, then they can start helping out too. Like we have friends that are a family of homesteaders that have 7 children, and each child has their own job, and they're
lucky that they come and help us.
Yeah, they come and help us when we need help. They're great people.
Yeah.
They were actually one of the first people we met when we moved up here. That, you know, the first thing they told us was that every piece of land is different. And even though they only live a kilometer down the road, what works on their land may not work on our land.
Right.
And over the years of knowing them and going and seeing, there's things that work in their garden that we can't grow. And we can grow asparagus, but they can't get it to take. So it's very interesting, just the makeup of the soil itself, how in such close proximity that can have such a difference.
For sure. How big of a garden do you guys usually make?
There's one big one that's
1,200
square feet.
I'd say it's about 1,200 square feet.
And then there were some raised bed boxes, like 4 by 12, I think. Raised bed boxes that were already here, luckily, when we got here. So there's 8 of those. And then we keep just every year we're like, we need a little more. And so this year we did a lot of lazy gardening, and it was just kind of a pile of hay and manure and stick whatever you can in there, and whatever grows. And there was no weeding, and it was actually really great. So we're kind of going to use that next year to use our time better in the garden, because it's not something that we have a lot of time for, but we really like doing it. So, and
we're going to focus on things that we can use in the prepared foods. I mean, things like zucchini and beans and corn, stuff you get a high yield on, is really easy for us to flip over into a multitude of dishes.
For sure.
So it's something, if we can balance a lower maintenance garden with a higher yield of stuff that we can use in our prepared foods, then it hopefully will be a recipe for success.
Yeah. And then
And that was a pun intended for sure.
We try to connect with other farmers that have those other items that we don't have the capacity to grow or that don't grow well. Like any brassica, I don't have luck with at all, and I try every year and it doesn't work. So instead of taking up that space, we'll do something else that we can use and can grow, and we'll get those from either a neighbor or another farmer at the market. And it's a lot of like exchange or trade or just using products and getting each other's names out there, and just being connected that way too, because we would, as much as we'd like to do everything ourselves, it's not possible. So
Right. So you guys are like you mentioned, you already talked to a couple of your neighboring farmers and stuff like that. So that's kind of where you're getting that support right there. Is like, so do you have an example, say, where like someone's growing something that you need and you have some sort of a barter going on, or?
Not really a barter. I mean, we've got some people that we work with that have local farms. So then we'll do a trade sometimes for some of our prepared meals, and they'll trade us some product that we can use in, like baby kale, for example. Or there's another farmer that came to the Noelville market every year this year, or every weekend this year. And she's just got a small kind of market garden, but she grows amazing squash. So all my butternut squash I get from her, and then if she needs chicken products, she gets it from us.
And those relationships develop over time too. So
Right.
this year was a lot of like connecting with people and kind of learning about other people too and what they're doing, and then we'll grow from there and see what happens.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea where you kind of get that going where say you have most of the ingredients for a certain dish and you say like, oh, if I could really find a good supply of such and such a thing, and then you can kind of strike up a relationship that way, where it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Someone's going to be growing something for themselves, and if they can get a surplus and help you guys out, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we can help them, then we can cross promote too, right? I mean, that's the hardest thing, and with the small business is advertising, is getting your name out there and getting people to recognize who you are, without forking over a ton of cash.
Right.
So when we get products from other local farms, so there's a farm not too far from us that I get onions from, or I get the butternut squash from someone else, I'll put the farm name on the label. So it'll be butternut squash from Bishop Farms, or onions from Roots and All. So when you read the ingredients, their name's listed right there on the packaging.
Yeah.
So if you take a bite, you're like, oh, that's really good squash, or that's really good onion.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're like, oh, they got it here. Maybe we should go visit them, right? Or let's look them up online and see if there's something else that they offer that, we may be interested in. And we try to do that. We work with a few other places, and we're always posting on social media, and so are they. And we, if I'm making a kale Caesar for dinner, and I got the kale from this farm, I'm going to say where I got it from. Mm-hmm. And then, if they're making something, they're like, oh, we're going to have their chili tonight. We got it from them at the market today.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. And there's a lot of farms doing their own like market stands or little stores on their property. Mm-hmm. That I think it's definitely an interest of a lot of people, especially with COVID and everything, and not necessarily certain events that you would go to not being open. And that's a great way to cross promote as well, because they look for other local products and put them in their store. And so it kind of gets your product in a location that you might not get to just from selling from farm gate and selling at the market, the ones that we've attended anyways. So yeah, it's a lot of just supporting each other and getting each other's names out there. And I think everyone that's doing this believes in it, and a lot of consumers believe in it more and more. And it's nice to see it growing so much.
Yeah, it sounds like social media has really helped in that sense too, because I think for a long time people wanted to kind of eat more, locally and everything. They just didn't know where to go or how to go about doing that, right? And I think that was a struggle more so in the past. I think now it's a lot more accessible, like you're saying. And the size of the market is pretty, like there's a lot of people who go to the market. So that seems like a pretty good way to kind of get everything out there too.
Yeah, and I was just thinking too, like, and like you're saying, there's a lot of people that believe in this this sort of way of living in a way where you're getting local food from local people. Like I'm thinking when I'm talking to you guys, and I hear that you guys believe in the idea of healthy animals being happy where they are and stuff like that, and the fact that I can kind of connect my food to some farmers' faces who I know, right? There's like maybe it's just me, but I feel good eating that kind of food. Like I just feel good that I know where it came from. And I don't know, I feel like for a kind of advertising, I think that's kind of the best kind is people who really believe in what they're doing and believe in their product. I think that it's worth its weight in gold,
Yeah, we had somebody come and take some pictures around the property and post on their personal Instagram that it was a magical place where the animals live out the best days of their lives. And we've used that as a promotion. All our animals live amazing lives and have one really crappy day. And, if that's all they have, that's a life I'm happy to live.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And I think that's kind of what inspired us to reach out to you guys and want to talk to you about what you guys are doing. Cause I think it is probably a lot of work, but how you guys talked about some days where you're working to the point where you're delirious, but you get up in the morning and you still do it, which tells me that, what makes life worthwhile is getting up in the morning with a purpose like that. And it's a beautiful thing to see. Like I really love what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's you have to love it, right? If you don't love it, it's not the life for you. And it's we've had people that have said they're interested, and we said, well, why don't you come out and hang out for a couple of days and and see kind of what it's all about, and if you're actually interested in it. And 50% of the people, say, yeah, I want to do it. Or the other half are saying, I have no idea how you do this. And I'll go back to, just living in the city and
from you.
and I'll just buy it from you. And that's fine too. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's the lifestyle. The food is for everyone, and it's approachable for everyone, and it's healthy for everyone. And that is the key thing for us. Our number one goal is that we want to eat well. I mean, we eat like we make $1 million a year. If I want to have duck tonight, I'm going to have duck. If I want to have bison, I'm going to get some bison because I traded some chicken to a bison farmer. And it's that alone. I mean, food is such a personal thing for me as a chef, but I think it's such a personal thing for everyone. You put it inside yourself daily, and it fuels your body and it fuels your mind, and knowing what's in it and where it comes from is important. And it's, again, that's like you went saying about motivation, about getting up in the morning. That's part of it is, I want to get up and get all my chores done so that I can go down to our raspberry patch in the bush and I can pick 20 quarts of raspberries so I can freeze them for the winter, because then I never have to buy a plastic container of raspberries at the store that I have no idea what's on them, how long they've been picked. I'd rather pull them frozen out of my freezer and know that I picked them myself from the woods.
Do you guys do lots of preserving?
Usually, not this year.
This year we didn't, but most years we do.
Yeah. The chickens took everything we had this year. They were really clucking at us all day long, if you know what I mean.
And now we're busy with market, and you're busy in the kitchen.
Yeah.
We have to rent a kitchen for him to do all the prepared products. So it's at least 2.5 days worth of trucking stuff back and forth, and you're busy. And
yeah. The goal is to hopefully build an on-site kitchen. Hopefully that's going to happen this winter, but it's a large undertaking. So with wanting to adhere to the public health standards and, make sure that we're serving people safe food. We rent an inspected kitchen. We have 2 locations we use. And luckily, one of them's pretty close. It's only about 15 minutes. The other one's about 35. So that can, if you forget something, it makes for a really long day.
Yeah.
Because living out here too, that's the other thing is there's not a lot of stores. I mean, you have one grocery store, and if they don't have the product you need, well, you're SOL.
Yeah.
I hope that wasn't too R-rated.
No, that's all right. That's all right. If people were to try to listen to something and hear some farmers talking, I think they would expect at least some foul language. No pun intended.
Yes. Oh.
Ah. Yeah. Another thing I thought about, where did you guys, what was the inspiration for the name of the farm?
Oh, you take that one.
A silly night, I think. We were thinking of a lot of names, and we had a few on the table, and we test ran one officially, and it just didn't sit right. And we wanted something that captured what we were going to provide, but also kind of showed our personalities a little. So yeah, Hopa, Flocka, Farmstead. It's fun to say.
Hop like a bunny.
Yeah.
Flock of chickens.
Yeah.
Flock of ducks. It worked for Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah.
They have the hyphens.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
got the A. Hey, it worked for them. It could work for us.
Yeah.
We're working on a round.
It's true. Holly's working on a Hopa Flocka rap.
Well, I was gonna
We're gonna
say,
release it on Spotify.
yeah, it reminds me of Waka Flocka Flame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you a single song by him,
Rolls off
but
the tongue that way.
yeah, exactly.
I know.
I'm just thinking back to when you talked about your garden and how you kind of let it go and, just kind of saw what would happen.
You just won't leave us alone on this garden farm.
Yeah. So it made me think about a little bit how we kind of run our garden to a certain extent. Like I'm always bugging Jordan that he should go do some weeding, and he's always like, just let it go. Like, everything's gonna grow. And so we kind of try the lazy route sometimes too. And, everything kind of grows. There's a lot, plants are resilient and.
Yeah. What we learned though is we planted stuff a little too close this year.
Yeah.
But like you guys said too, every year you learn a whole bunch. Like we made a bunch of mistakes last year, we won't make next year. So I kind of
exactly, yeah. Yep. So for me, that's the best way to learn. I'll never make the same mistake twice, and I'll remember why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have to experiment too, because we've been told like certain ways that you have to do things when it comes to gardening, and it didn't necessarily work, or it does work, but there's other ways too. It doesn't have to be that way. It's how it works for you.
Well, and how
we don't have a ton of time to maintain.
Yeah,
so.
it's about how it works into your time commitment as well. I mean, is spending 4 extra hours or 5 extra hours a week weeding worth getting 10 extra tomatoes over the course of a season? To some people, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to have that manicured look to their garden. I'll take 5 less pounds of beans if I don't have to weed or water for an entire year.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, I'll eat 5 more pounds of chicken. Yay!
Yeah. Well, and I like too what you guys were saying too about eating like a millionaire, where it's like if you really focus on the quality of your food, and like, I mean, you're obviously probably more inclined in the kitchen than most people are, but probably with a little bit of know-how and the right kind of food to start with, you can eat really good food all the time, and like you said, eat like a millionaire.
Yeah, I mean, that was the basis of when we started. Was we wanted to, we cared as much as we do about food, and we wanted to raise animals that not only had a good life, but the highest quality product available. I mean, we do an annual thing with some buddies of mine called the annual chef's dinner. We do it every year. And so we all pitch in stuff, and we used to all pitch in stuff from our restaurants. And we're talking lobes of foie gras, whole beef tenderloins, whole ducks, whatever if you can name it, we got it. Cases of oysters. And the last 2 years, I've taken down product from us here, and it's the first thing to go off the table. I mean, you're putting down, you know, a AAA beef tenderloin, what's rated as AAA, next to a free range Muscovy duck that was hatched on farm, and you've got 12 chefs standing around and nothing's touched except the duck plate's clean. So, and it's not because I'm any better a cook than any of them. It's just the quality of the product at the end of the day.
And another question that reminds me of too, I was going to ask, we got one of a rabbit off you guys there. What would be a good suggestion for a first-time rabbit cooker?
How many people are you feeding?
How many people will the whole rabbit feed? Like, I think we would probably, it would be us and maybe her parents and a couple other people. So let's say 6 people.
Okay, so yeah, then you would want to do the whole rabbit. But I mean, anything you do with chicken, you can do with rabbit. So when people buy rabbits from us, the spiel I always give is that the last time we butchered a rabbit for ourselves, we got 3 meals for the 2 of us out of it. So we took the 2 back legs and we cut the meat off, and we made meat for nachos or tacos. So that's 1 meal. And then we took the loins out and we used those. We put them on a salad the next day. And then we took the front legs and the belly and we braised it off in some tomato sauce and pulled it down, and we made a pasta sauce with it.
It's a very lean meat and it's easy to dry out. So we often recommend like
a moist method of cooking.
Like a pasta sauce is good, or like a stew or soup or something like that. Anything crock pot related, like the low and slow. So you'll get you won't dry out the meat. You'll get a good rabbit flavor.
Yeah, so I mean, that's how you could stretch one.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing it for 6 people, if you want to roast it, crack the legs open and lay it flat. Put on some parchment. Put a little mustard and herbs on there. Put some bacon over the top. Roasted it.
Yeah, bacon saves everything.
Bacon makes anything moist, right?
So you'd have him like sort of belly down with his legs spread open, and the herbs and stuff on the inside. You said.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the bacon over the top, like
I would put it on the outside, so right on the meat, just like you're crusting a piece of beef or something.
Okay.
And then then if you want to get fancy, you could do the basket weave of bacon. And then it crisps up really nice. And then when you cut it, it looks really cool too when you serve it, right?
Okay.
You can YouTube the basket weave of bacon.
All right. So where can people buy your products?
People can purchase our products on farm at 326 Pilon Road, Noelville, Ontario. They can access Hopa, Flocka, Farmstead on social media, Facebook and Instagram, where they can connect with us. We also do delivery on orders depending on the size. We're at the Sudbury Market every Saturday at Science North through the winter. And then we'll be at the Sudbury Summer Market and the Noelville, or I guess the French River Market, which is held in Noelville all summer long as well.
All right. Well, I think we got to wrap it up now, but we just wanted to thank you guys for coming and chatting with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for reaching out.
Yeah, it was really fun, and it was good talking to you guys. And like I said before, it's really good hearing that the animals we're eating are being treated so well, and that it comes through in the taste.
Perfect.
Awesome.
I'm glad to hear it.
So,
all right.
Well, it's been great chatting with you guys and
Yeah.
getting to know you guys a bit better too. So
Yeah, for sure.
we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
Thanks.
All right,
Take care.
bye.